right. This is Jeff, the Big Hairy Dog, and we're talking about Prism point of sale and XV out today. I believe is the topic, and hopefully everyone can hear me. I can't really tell, as far as I can tell. You guys can hear me, so if you guys can't hear me, this like send a note up, hit the chat, something along those lines. Excellent, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Derek. All right, so there's our agenda. Please feel free to hop in to the chat anytime. I'm going to keep the chat up, and if you have questions, I'm going to keep an eye on it. I can also unmute anybody, or you guys can unmute yourself, I think. I get it. Some people don't like to hop in the adult chat, the voice thing. All right, so point of sale. Let's take a look. I don't even know what I have in this database. I'm going to see if I can get it to hop over to inventory. Let's take a look at what we've got to play with here. Not sure it matters what we have, but I want to make sure we got something. We got plenty of stuff in here. Of course, I don't seem to have. Let's pick something here and take a look at the details. All right, 2. That works. I can't really go wrong with that. All right, so ideally, 99% of our transactions, if we go to point of sale, new transactions, are going to be scanned in. So as much as I like to get into searching and cool tricks and all that stuff, we got to point out that, you know, most of your stuff should be just scan the thing and the item should appear on the transaction, right? So that would be very similar to just typing in exactly what I typed in, right? Now, if I need to do a search, now the obviously easiest part, scanning, I don't need to go over that much more. I'm guessing most of you guys can use a scanner, but searching, which is also very important because I'm guessing sometimes items don't have a tag. The first choice would be a wildcard. Second choice would be the magnifying glass or the regular search function, right? So first choice would be using a wildcard. Type in something like T dash. That's enough, right? That's a pretty unique phrase right there. Now, if I put a wildcard in the beginning and the end, it finds a T and a hyphen and an SH anywhere in the field, right? And I could scroll through them. This is obviously just junk data on my sandbox, but I could pick one that I'm looking for by color and size, and I could say select item, and I can bring that item up. If I know it starts with the word logo, I could say logo asterisk, and that would indicate that it must start with the word logo, right? And it would show me all that stuff. And vice versa, if I know it ends in the word shirt, I could say asterisk shirt, and then it must end in the word shirt, right? So an asterisk at both ends is your best choice, right? You're not sure exactly of the phrasing or how it goes together, but you know a key word, and that's a tricky part right there. If you search for something too wide open, if you just search for like the letter A, you're going to get so many matches that it's not going to match. Of course, and then I get 4 items. But in a real inventory, if we had real products in here, not a sandbox, I would get more than 100 matches to that search, and it would give an error saying that you have more than 100 matches, and all of the items can't be displayed. So it's not going to show more than 100 matches. Even then, if you get 50 or 60 or 70 and you've got to scroll through them, it gets a bit tricky. So you don't want to search too broad, but you don't want to search too narrow. If you put in something incorrectly, you're going to miss finding what you want to find, right? So that takes a bit of knack and takes a bit of knowing what your inventory is. But most of the associates, if they've been around for a while, know their product pretty well. The newbies have to learn, right? By the way, my screen has been modified. I have some customizations in it to change the background and stuff. That's all stuff we can do if that's something you're interested in. That is not what this webinar is about, however. So, okay, number two then, if you're ringing up items and you can't scan it, would be to use the magnifying glass, and then in the selection menu here, select what fields we're looking for, right? So if I say description 1, the default here is equals. You're going to need to change it to contains, right? We've been kind of working on getting Retail Pro to change that to default to contains, but so far we are not there yet, and we're also looking at some customizations where we're again not there yet. So if I say contains the word shirt, search, it should find, things that contain the word shirt. In this mode here, I should be able to say that I want 2 of those. And if I wanted to do another search and say I want 3 of those, and then do yet another search, I can just keep going, right? And you see that I've got 1 and 1, the 2 I scanned or brought in first, then I got a 2 and I got a 3, right? So the point is that when you're out here, I could do, let's see, what do I got out here? Just do a wide open search and see what I find. I don't find a lot, actually, do I? Logo polo, nice. So yeah, we could say contains, polo, for instance, which is going to find 1 item, right? And I could then select a quantity for that, either one of those, right? Now, notice that it searches both fields. Either field could contain the word you're looking for, right? That's all defined by your preferences and stuff, which this was not about. But if we say we want 5 of those, just to keep the quantities changing, I could then turn around and say, but yes, and now I want something that that contains the word T-shirt, right? And I could then do another search, and we could keep going down this path, right? And I could say I want 6 of those, right? And close. And it should grab those other 2 at 5 and 6 respective quantities and put them on the receipt. By the way, if you continue to scan, most of Prism's settings will just increment the quantity. The bottom item is the first item I rang, which was item number 2. If I just keep scanning it in, it'll just keep incrementing the quantities, right? It won't actually add another record. Now, the exception to that would be if you modified it, which kind of brings us into like discounting and things, right? So I've got 4 of these here. Let's say I change it to 1. Let's go back to 1 here. So we got 1 of those, and I click on discounting, and I select %, and we type in 10 into the little field there, press enter, and the item is now discounted. Now, if I ring that same item up again, obviously it will not consolidate, because now you have the item at 2 different prices, right? It's kind of a no-brainer. Actually, that used to be a bug in several versions, like a long, long time ago, like version 8, like a long time ago, like ancient days. So 2 full versions back, there was a bug on that would actually consolidate them at the lowest price. So that has been fixed for a long time, like well over a decade. So anyway, then you don't even know why I mentioned it. But that being said, that does sort of bring us to discounts, right? Discounts are useful. Discounts can exist at 2 levels, right? So we certainly can click on any item, and we can select discount, and we can say whether we want to take the price will be, or a percentage off, or a discount of $1 or $5, right? So we can easily, most of us default to percentages, although we could have a price situation. It's tagged $7.99, but it's coming up $9.99. It's an old tag or whatever, and we got to take care of the customer. We could just click on price and say we're going to make it $7.99 today, right? Excuse me. That's at the item level, right? So at the item level, we can discount any single item, but that can be a lot. We can also discount at the transaction level. So if I click on the transaction details, there is a discounting tab, right? In the discounting tab, I could then, now this sort of highlights backwards. The highlight, the dark one is not selected. So I'm selecting percent. I'm typing in 10 here, right? I'm going to select a reason code and apply that. Now, at this point, it's offering me the option to spread. I'm gonna close it for now and not spread. So we should see that right now we've got discount on this one, a discount on this one, right here and here, and we have a discount over here of 38.68, right? If I can just highlight the one field, would be better. You get where I'm going. So we can discount at two different levels. Now, the next question is what happens if I did spread that? So the total is 377.72. Interesting. Okay, so if we're at 377.72 when we spread the discount and close this, now then in this case here, the receipt total did not change, but that's a setting, right? So if it did not change, that means the discount coming from the transaction level being spread across the items was absorbed by the other discounts, not overwritten, right? So we're talking about the accumulation of discounts, right? So if you have 10%, if you have $100 and you 10% off, I think we're all going to agree that 10% of 100 is $10, i.e. the price is 90. Take another 10%. 10% of 90 is 9, right? So 10 and 10 is 19. Or in this case here, because of some rounding and some price point things, 18.919, right? So right about 19%. I don't know what I just did there. I think I just deleted that item by clicking wrong, but same thing is going on here, right? You had a 20% discount. We took another 10. So again, if we took 20% off 100, we'd be at 80. Take 10% of 80, you got 8 more, you got 28%. The difference in fractional 100ths there is the fact that we weren't in an even. We were at 9.99, so there's a penny missing there, right? So you got to take that fractional penny. It's just math, right? Now those are choices. So accumulating discounts is turned on in my preferences. Had it been turned off, had we not allowed them to accumulate, then one discount would have replaced, overwritten the other one, and the receipt total would have changed, would have gone up. So those are all choices, though, in how you want to do business. Do you want to explain a 20% and a 10% turning into 28%? Because technically that is correct. Mathematically, that is absolutely correct. But sometimes customers are like, hey, a 10 and a 20 is 30. No, it's not. Not in anybody's book. Sorry. But there you go, right? The question is, how do you want to handle that? A lot of people also don't like to spread. They like to leave the discount printing separately on the receipt, right? You show a discount on the top, then you show a discount on the bottom, and that makes the customer's tail wag. So, whatever really works for you. There's a lot of choices there. This webinar is not about preferences or how to set those up. It's about what happens when you use them, right? And I can go change them if we need to take a look at a different config. It's not a big deal to change the settings, but I think we all get that if we turn off accumulation, then we're going to lose that 20% discount. The 10 is going to replace it, and therefore the price is going to go up from $7.99 to $8.99, right? $9.99, take off 10%, you're $1 off. Take off 20%, you're $2 off, right? So, okay. Now I do have to add one thing that this webinar is really not about this, but I'm gonna abandon this transaction and we're gonna hop out to the main menu and abort the sale. And I'm just gonna click on promotions really quick. This is not about promotions today. That's not what this here is about at all. But know that promotions is something that is designed to do automatic discounting and probably should be most of your discounting today in this world. This is a very powerful tool. Again, we can't really dive into it deeply because we don't really have the time to do that on a webinar that's not really about it. But let's just say that there's a lot of different kinds of promotions that you can set up, and you can set them up pretty easy. You have to give it a name, and you have to give it a reason. And then you'd go over to like validation rules, and you'd say the item, gets to filter by a department code or a vendor code or a mark or a description one or style, right? So I could say whatever department code equals this department code, right? So if the item meets that criteria, then it qualifies, right? Then I would go over to the reward section and say what that reward is, whether that's a percentage discount or what, and how much, right? So that being said, I am not going to save this. I'm just going to back out of here and abandon it. But that's an automatic form of discounting, and we have webinars just on promotions because it's a huge topic, and that's an extremely powerful feature. So while it's not on our menu and not on our agenda today, it really wasn't part of this, but it does sort of squeak into the discount section a little bit, right? And I added discounts that wasn't even on the original agenda, but how can you do point of sale without discounts, right? I mean, really, right? So, okay, I also added returns because I think that you have to talk about returns if you're talking about, do we even have anything to return? I don't even know if we do here. So, what do we got here for transactions? Okay, let's say view transaction. What do we got here? Nothing really. Let's just copy this. And let's take a discount on this. And okay, $17.99 transaction. I guess we should actually finish the sale too, right? Mine defaults to gift card because I was doing some testing on gift cards and I never changed it back. It's a little awkward. I apologize. So we went to tender. We should default to either cash or credit card. I've got a 1952. I'm going to click on the 20 here and select take and then give the change. And mine's set to automatically update. As soon as we get that finished, mine just automatically updates. So I'm just going to grab a receipt design and preview it. That's basically the process. Scan the items, click tender, take some money, right, and update, right? So I'm going to cancel that. Now I want to go back and see that real quick. I'm on a new transaction automatically. I click cancel, and I'm then placed just sitting here looking at the formal receipt. I'm going to go to options, transaction lookup, and do a quick search. And number 37 there, that one we just made, view transaction. So transaction number is 37, and details, my item number is 14. Okay, so let's just write that down so we know what the heck we're doing. Okay, so we got a receipt 37 and item 14. All right, so let's get out of here, cancel. Okay, there we go. Let's do a new transaction. So I can go either way on the return, and I think this is hugely important. It's very, very good. They've done a great job on the return mode. Kind of excited about it. I know I get excited over dumb things, but there you go, right? So you can go from the transaction to the item or from the item back to the transaction. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to start with return mode, right? Search for receipt. And I could scan the bottom barcode in, which would be like putting in the receipt number or the system ID. The system ID by default prints, it works also, right? So if I then press enter or click search, no documents found, right? Nice. Interesting. Why am I not finding it? Not sure. All right, I'm going to have to play with that, but I suspect that we can take the SID and do that trick. I have not had that problem before, but all right. Item 30, transaction 37 could have one item. It has one item. Could have many items on it. So we click on here, and I could either select this item, right? return item, POS return item, or I could select all and get everything on the transaction, which in this case is the same. Then I could say return to document. It puts the item on the transaction. So type is set to return. It has a discount, and it has a customer. So I found the receipt and said what item I wanted to return. It handled the price, and it handled referencing the customer automatically. So you can see why I like this a lot. And we can go the other way too. Let's cancel this transaction, and let's see if I can actually, before we go around the bend here, we go to options, transaction search, whatever, search, select that, view transaction, print. Let's see here. Can I get the other barcode and play with that in a search, right? That's the question. Preview, what do I got here? Okay, so can't really copy that, can I? That'd be way too easy, wouldn't it? All right, so I think I got that successfully transposed, right? That looks pretty good. 628, 24, 781, 7,000, 10, 4572, right? Okay, I think I got the thing successfully transferred over. Copy that. Okay, so let's just say cancel this now. Let's get out of here. Let's start a new transaction. It could be that I was ringing up items. By the way, after returning those other items, I could have continued and rang up other items, right? But I could also scan the item either before or after other items, right? I could highlighting that item, click on type, and say return. And it could say, do you want to search for the transaction to reference? I could say yes. And let's see if I paste that in there. Let's see here. Can I get it to paste? And search. Right. So the barcode on the bottom of the receipt, you just would scan it, right? It would find that receipt, right? And then we would just click on that and click on the item and or select all, return item, whichever, right? Same difference, really. Return to document. And of course, now if we wanted to continue ringing up items, we could, right? Now, again, the item has been discounted and the customer has been added automatically, right? Which is beautiful. We've got to love it. Okay. So I just rang up my other test item. Boom, right? I could now I got a positive. Now I'm still negative, actually. I'm negative $17. I only rang up a $7 item, right? Obviously, you could go either way, though. I'm still a -4. I could go to tender and I could give them the money if that was appropriate. Of course, I'm defaulting to gift card, so I could give them a gift card. But if I was giving them cash, I would default to cash, click give, or I could select credit card and process the credit card, right? Not a big deal either way. So we'll say give, and boom. It's got the change window popping up, and boom, the receipt should print. Let's go see if this receipt design works. I had a problem with one the other day. It was kind of weird. This one's working perfect, though. This is not broken. The one that broke, it omitted everything down here, all the total stuff from the bottom. So basically, it shows you the sale item, but not the returned item, which then the total was off. It was showing the wrong total. It was weird. All the other receipts I've been playing with, though, lately all work. I don't know what happened to that one, but apparently it's not an ongoing issue. So, but yeah, I like the layout. Wish I could zoom in on this a little bit. It's got to be tiny on your side. Generally, when I design one of these, and this isn't designed, this is just a knockoff of the default. Like I would get rid of the store numbers and store codes up here. Normally would put a line that would separate the items as it goes down so I could see all three items more clearly. And obviously we put a logo at the top and a return policy at the bottom, right? All right, so, okay, back to work here. Any questions on returns? I'm guessing it's pretty straightforward. Tenders, right? We do want to talk about tenders. I guess that's always a good thing, right? So if we ring up an item and we go to tender, and we have a tender menu. I could split this between credit card and cash. If so, which one do I do first? And of course, the answer, that's a trick question. The answer is the one the customer tells you to. We don't do math in front of anybody, right? So quite simply, if they say put $10 on my credit card or $100, whatever the amount might be, right? Then you would go to credit card and you would say, all right, $10 to their credit card. And in this case, I don't have my plug-in, I don't have a PIN pad, so I'm having to manually select the credit card. Where in real life, you would click take and it would prompt the PIN pad and they would stick the card in. And card type and amount was all defined by the transaction and the PIN pad, right? Anyway, at this point, it would then now what did I tender? I tendered $100. Nice. I meant to go with 10. Oof. Apparently, I'm having a typing challenge moment. Let's try that again. Okay, I had 10. Take. Okay. Residual balance $11.69. I could then switch it back to cash. I really should change my default to either credit card or cash. That gift card thing is really coming up annoying right now here. I clicked on 20 before, but I could, if I wanted to, just type in 20, right? I don't have to click on the button. I can do whichever, and then I could give the change back. So, okay, so take a look at that. Right, so 2 different tenders is all we got going there, and a little bit of change at the bottom. All right, so customers on a new receipt, we could certainly type in the customer's name, right? If we know the customer's name that we're searching for, we can just type it in, and it should find it and add the customer's name to the transaction, right? Cancel. Let's just cancel here, and click new again. The other option would be that we could also pull the drop-down menu and change it from full name to phone number, right? If we knew the phone number, I could type in phone number. Then I would be searching by phone number. So I could search by any of those drop-down things, right? So it's just a matter of knowing how to search, basically, I think is what it comes down to. All right, so you can also, if we need to, enter a new customer, right? We could click on new, and I could just type the customer's information right in here. Really handy, by the way. Let me see, if we go back to full name and do, and I'm just tabbing over here, right? And pressing enter. I can also then choose details, and I can see that customer's record if I need to, right? I can edit, I can cancel. I got some options here. Not a lot of options. Customer history and purchase credit. Interesting. I'm going to cancel that. I can also go right to history right here, right? And in this history mode here, I'm really doing is I'm searching their history, right? So you'd select here what you want to search by, right? Mostly about the item. I'm not sure when we'd be searching by currency name. Most of us wouldn't, but it's possible. And we have customer statistics here. I'm not sure how useful that is, but certainly you can see their total purchases, their total returns, their, over any period of time. So the other topics here is troubleshooting and disbursements. Disbursements are actually pretty cool. Let's circle back to troubleshooting in a second. Disbursements is a different kind of transaction, right? So a disbursement, you got lookup and you got regular disbursement right there, right? A disbursement is paid out or paid in. I don't know if everybody does those. But if we go to new disbursement, for instance, I could say I want to do a paid out, and I could pick a reason code here, supplies. I could say add tender, $20, and print update, right? And what this would do is this would take $20 out of the drawer. So I could take $20 out of the drawer, and of course it's going to want us to pick a design. And we would then be able to print that out. And then somebody could go buy some paper towels for the break room or whatever. They could come back with a receipt and change, and we could do a paid in for supplies. And we could even type in here paper towels, right? And add value. So say they brought back change of $3.17. We would then put in our change and print update. And we would attach the receipt to that, put it in the drawer. And I'm not sure why the notes aren't printing. That seems weird, but I could go look at that probably. Anyway, that's primarily what a disbursement does. And now disbursements also could be a cash drop. So you could do a cash drop where we just literally have too much cash in there and we need to take $1,000 out, right? Same thing, by the way, add tender, type in 1,000, click update, right? And then the other option would be to open the cash drawer, which you actually don't need this menu for, since the open drawer is actually a button on the main screen. You can execute that without having to go into the disbursements menu. Obviously, mine's grayed out because I don't have a cash drawer. Now, I should also mention there are 2 point of sale modes. Although this is not on the checklist, I'm going to add it to the checklist, so to speak. So we have basically regular and touch, right? And I don't know to what extent my touch menu is set up, but let's go take a look at it, right? So touch menu has to be activated, turned on. You have to build a menu, right? Now, when you activate the touch menu and turn it on and build a menu, then your point of sale looks like this. So if you're using touch menus fairly heavily, then this is a great choice. This can be really amazing. I don't think I have anything built into my menus, right? So, but typically you would click into a menu, then you'd have some choices. Now, I got a rule of thumb, and that is that I only go three clicks down, right? So if I go into a menu, then in there's a sub menus, and that takes me into another layer of menus. By that third click, you really need to be selling an item. Like if you're not designing your menu that way, then you're not designing it well. So I get to choose the size of these buttons as I build the menu. So with this screen, this is a massive screen. I could get 6 of these buttons at that size, at least 6 across there, if not 7, right? So I get to choose how big the buttons are and the color and the phrasing and the label and all that stuff. I get to choose all that. So so touch menus is brilliant. Like I said, if you're selling things, and does this sell it on? Yes, it does. I got a T-shirt in my gift menu, but and that's basically what you do. And then you could go up a level, but let's face it, everybody goes back to main menu and they drill down again, right? That's how you do it. The issue I have, and this is not a big deal, it's actually fairly minor. You lose return mode, right? So on the main screen, I was able to select return mode, search for a receipt, and make a return. Now, that being said, you have access to both menus, right? I mean, if you had to do a more complicated return, you could just bounce out to the main menu and go into the other mode and return over there and come back, right? So otherwise, everything is the same. You still have transaction details, you still have customers, quick customer, you still have details, remove customer. The history is inside the details here. You don't have a separate history button, but we have access to it either way, so I'm not sure that's a big deal. So it's just kind of a choice about how you want to set the thing up, right? Whether you want to use the main receipt, new transaction, or the touch menu. And they're both excellent. I really have to say I like the touch menus a lot. I just really wish, I really like this return mode. I really like it. It'll pop in here and then set the search for receipt and then return the items from there backwards. You know what I mean? I think that's just a very sweet deal. So, okay, so I guess troubleshooting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting. The first thing I'm going to point at is down here in the bottom right corner. Hopefully everybody can see that my mouse is by the clock here. I'm just sort of making that little thing flash. There is a thing here called the proxy. Okay, so if we close, for instance, this thing altogether, and I come down to this well and I right-click the proxy, I can actually open the browser and cause it to go back into Prism, and then I can sign into Prism. I've got mine saved, probably shouldn't have mine saved. Okay, so I'm just going to type it in. So first off, what does the proxy do and why is it down there? A website can't print to your printer. A website can't open your cash drawer, right? A website cannot talk directly to peripherals. So there has to be an intermediate piece of software installed locally to hand off that to and have that application then actually execute the hardware. So if your proxy fails, and you know that by clicking down here and either seeing the proxy or not seeing the proxy, well, that's going to cause problems in printing or opening your cash drawer, isn't it? So also, if you have an iOS device, like an Apple, which I do have some in the office. I'm not actually working in the office today, and I'm not on that machine anyway. But that's a different webinar anyway. That's a mobile point of sale webinar. But I do have iOS devices that I could display on the screen. But the point is that iOS devices don't have a proxy. So if you're using an iOS device, you have to have a PC somewhere in the building to have your proxy running and have your receipt printer hooked up, right? Because you may want to email most receipts on an iOS device, but the reality is you may actually want to print a few too. There's still customers out there that want a printed copy, right? So you're going to need a regular PC somewhere. Plus, if you're on an iOS device and you don't have a PC in the building and you're only emailing, that implies that you're actually in the cloud, that you're operating the iPad directly to the Prism server, which may or may not be in the same building or even the same state. That's operating without a safety net. That's what that is. I mean, you can do it, but if your internet messes up even for a second, you're down for that second, and then you're going to have to come back up and reconnect. So I would want to have a local database in the store, either Prism-based or RIL-based, right? RIL being the back end, right? We're not really talking about that today, but this is a full IRL install, and I do have a back end right here, Prism Management, that I could go into. That is basically a copy of version 9. Now, there's also another version of Prism that does not have that back end, but that version does not have some of the more advanced features that version 9, i.e. RIL, offer. So you can't do anything like auto transfer, auto PO, auto min max, right? All the more advanced utilities aren't yet in Prism. They're working on them. They're going to get them, but there's not there today, right? So number two, I guess, if I was troubleshooting Prism, the next thing I would say is to click on your start bar and type in services, and in your Windows services, if you're on the server, right? Scroll down to the R section. As you see, there is a plethora of Prism-based services, right? All these right here that I'm looking at are all Prism-based, and they got to be running. So that's kind of advanced. You can always call to export. We always love to jump in and do this if you need to. But there's the R section where Retail Pro Prism is. There's another thing called Rabbit that is also part of this thing. And so it's the Prism and the Rabbit, and of course the big kahuna. We can't forget about the big one. That'd be Apache. So I'm pointing to it here, but I probably should have started by pointing to it down here, right? So you see right there next to our proxy is Apache, and it says running all Apache services, right? So Apache is your web server. So the server for Retail Pro / Prism is going to automatically run an Apache web server. So you're connecting to it across the network. You're not actually going over the internet, right? You're just going from one workstation to another. It's internal. But certainly if your Apache were to fail, if the web server were to fail, Prism would fail, right? So I guess in troubleshooting, I would check a few things down here and make sure that the web server is running, or restart it, right? You could do that. You could go in here and say stop and then start again. I think you can do that down here too, by the way. Not that I really want to stop oh yeah, stop. So if I left click on it, it gives me the menu that allows me to stop and start the service or restart it. If I right click, I get the other menu. Open services, right? So I mean that's a nutshell, I guess, on troubleshooting. I'm not sure what else we would go over in troubleshooting. I guess I'd have to get some good examples to even begin to go down that path, right? Okay, so back to our not checklist, but our outline. So we really haven't talked about XE out at all, and we probably should talk about XE out. So I'm going to pop into admin console real quick, just take a look at my settings on that to make sure I know what the heck I'm talking about. XE out. Right, so I'm using a structured Z out. I would strongly recommend everyone use a structured Z out. You don't have to. This version of RIL/Prism can use any form. You could have a wide open, Wild West closing procedure where you run it when you want to and there's no requirements, or you could set it up like I have with a structured XE out. Okay, so I am defining my workstation, my register as the workstation, not the drawer, not the till, not the cashier. And I'm requiring that they open and close the drawer and count the denominations, right? That's in a nutshell. My default float or leave amount is 200. I got all my detail turned on. So now obviously the drawer is already open. So if I hop over here to Z out, I'm going to do a Z out lookup, and let's just see if I find anything here. I don't even know if I will. Apparently I opened this a long time ago. All right, well, let's just go backwards then. So I'm going to start by saying Z out, close the register. So it pops up. This first page is a little bit confusing. This is a filter, but found the workstation. Now my workstation name is rather odd because I just took the default that Windows gave it basically. So in real life, it would say like WS1 here, WS2, right? It would have your normal workstation numbers. And if you're on the workstation, it's already going to be there. You don't need to do anything, right? So most of the time on a given workstation, when you're closing out, you're going to click next, and it's going to take you to the tender screen, US dollars, and we're going to type in our counts. We got so many of these, we got so many of those, right? We're going to count these, and that's going to give us our total, right? So then we're going to click next, and it's going to take us to non-currencies. So with non-currencies, with credit cards, we don't have drafts anymore. There's nothing in the drawer to pull out and count, right? So we're just going to select all. Now, be particularly careful to look at these little dots. This one's got a 40002. So we want to select all of these, but it's just to select all. It's confirm that it's in the menu and select it. Okay. Next. And if you have personal checks, if we had some of these, you'd have to count them, right? Because I mean, you got to have the check in the drawer. But with credit cards and debit cards and all the rest of that stuff, it's all electronic pretty much. There's nothing to count, right? Just nothing in the drawer. We go to next, we say close, and it pops up and shows us how far I am off, probably. I guess I missed the gift card menu, didn't I? I could go back here. I guess I will go back. So there's such a thing as a blind count. And, oh yeah, no. See, now where are those gift cards? Central gift card? No. Weird. Check, no check, no check. Oh, 8 right there. Does say gift card. And 8 looks surprisingly like a 0. Doesn't it? Nice. Anyway, in a blind count mode, I would not be able to come back, right? So in a blind count mode, once you pass too far, right, once you get into the reconciliation, it won't let you back up. I don't have a lot of clients that turn that on. Most of us don't have that high security an issue. Certainly, if you can back up and redo the count, then you could make it balance every time. You could fudge the drawer and keep the difference and play games. And if you have that, or you suspect you have that going on, we could turn on blind counts. And then once they reach the screen where they can see their variance, they would not be able to back up, right? It would be in the can at that point. So at this point, though, typically we would print this, right? And I'm going to select a design, 40 column, preview, and it gives us our basic Z-out, which hopefully is not too microscopically small. It's probably not great. I'm going to point out a few things. The top has our filter criteria, right, everybody? If you have a problem, anytime you have a problem with the Z-out, you want to check your filter criteria. Make sure it's got the right date, time, etc., person, whatever it's supposed to have. It's really hard to screw that up in this version, really hard. But I suspect someone can handle it. You got your sales section at the top. That's like a pat on the back. That's great, wonderful. Then you've got your cash flow. Okay, cash flow total. That right there, but I cannot highlight the whole thing, is what you balance to. So if you have any funny money, like gift cards or deposits, right, or gift certificates, if you sell a gift certificate on the 1st of the month for $100, then your cash flow on that day is $100 higher than your sales, right? Then when they redeem it on the 30th of that month, your sales are $100 higher than your cash flow, right? We all get that, right? There's things like funny money, like gift cards, gift certificates, deposits, charge counts, etc., where money is flying around in funny ways, right? So we don't balance to sales, we balance to cash flow. If you took the cash, you got to reconcile it. That's how it works, right? Anyway, below that, we get a nice little discount breakdown, a receipt count. We usually get a fee breakdown. We didn't take any fees, so it's not there. Then it jumps into tenders. And as always with the Z out, you've got your paid in, your paid out. Now, if it helps anybody, and it helps me, I'm just going to tell you, it helped me a lot. You see paid out and paid out in, add on to the end of that cash drawer. So paid into the cash drawer, paid out of the cash drawer. Right? So these are gross numbers. So 371.69 gross paid in. We paid out $4.35 and change. Right? So there's a net value in there of what we actually sold in cash. Right? So we began with 200. We had a disbursement paid in for 317 and paid outs for 20. We had a net value of 550.51. We counted 802. We're a little bit off. We're in fact over by 251. With our leave of 200, we will be depositing 602. Right. So I love the way that the Z out just spells it out for you beautifully. It also, below it is showing us the counts, what they counted. So if we think they screwed up, we can see what they typed into the count. Makes it very easy to find mistakes. Then, of course, it goes down into each and every tender. So down here, we're going to start with all cards. Then it's going to break down each card. And then it's going to get like a deposit here, the gift card, and any other tenders we took, right? Now this at the bottom, this is the detail, the printing out of the detail, right? Telling you what each gift card and each credit card was and what document it was on, which you can turn off. I don't know that there's a great need for that any longer. Back when we had credit card drafts and we had to match them up, that was a very important thing to have at the bottom. Now, probably not so much. Personal checks, yes, I would leave it on for personal checks if you take personal checks. And why would you take personal checks? Just have them use their debit, right? All right, so anyway, we've gone through that closing process, kind of backwards actually. So, but I wanted to get where we were now, closed. So now the drawer is closed. We are using a structured exit out closing, opening, closing, right? So if I try to go make a transaction without going and opening my drawer, it's going to say, hey, your register hasn't been opened yet. Would you like to open the register? Like, dude, you can't go make a sale yet. You need to go open your drawer. So their choice is to click on new transaction and get funneled back into it, or just go over and say, I want to open my drawer, right? Either way, you're going to have to open your drawer. So again, it identifies the workstation. You click next, you put in your counts. So it's looking for 200, right? I'm going to cheat. Just give it 200 down here. I got my 200. And again, we can look these up, these counts. If you screw screw around like I did, it leaves an audit trail. Now, if you screw around and the money balances, nobody cares. But the minute it doesn't balance, then you're going to get caught, and it's going to matter, and people are going to care. So anyway, you put in your counts, what you have in that opening balance, and then you click finish, doors open. That's simple. Really, really easy to open the drawer. So you open the drawer, then you can go back to point of sale, back to making sales, have a good time with it. And at the end of the day, we do that closing procedure, which we already walked through. We probably don't need to do it again. That'd be kind of redundant. But I was in retail for a long time. I was a store manager at one point for Marshalls in Las Vegas. And, you know, there's a fairly structured process to opening and closing the drawer that we did when I was in retail. And up till version 9, we really didn't have that. And so in version 9, and of course in RIL and in Prism, they've given us the structured open close process, which is just beautiful. I'm just going to say that it's the bar that we should all be at, whether you're a manager or a cashier. If you're opening a drawer, you count the money. If you're closing it, you count the money, right? That's what you do. It's normal, everyday retail, not rocket science here. So I know, tell you how I really feel, right? Statistics. Do we have statistics in that exit out? I don't even know if we do. We do in RIL. We could go play with that. Let's go out of here. Let's just see what there is in here. I don't remember them being yet in here. And I will mention that there is this force close function down here. I'm only mentioning it because if you're in trouble, if somebody forgot to close or screwed the close up or whatever, it's a hangover from yesterday. But yesterday's money has already been dealt with. They've already made the deposit. The cash rec person's good. We don't really need this report. This report just helps us do the real life stuff, like make a deposit, right? So there is a force close function. You could force close a rogue open drawer. Then that would allow you to open a new one. So I got to mention that, right, in as far as troubleshooting and things. But I don't know that there's any statistics yet in Prism. There are, oddly, statistics in the RIL, so the back end, right, normal. All right, we're open again, right? So I'd have to go. Let's go back. Let's go back. This is a new one I just opened. I don't know how old the other one is. Let's just see or search. Okay, so if I'm backwards in time somewhere, yeah, I could print this, but I'm not sure that that's going to help me as far as stats go. So cancel that. Pop back into management. I'm not sure how long you guys were scheduled for, but and we're pushing on an hour, but we'll be wrapped up here in the next 5 minutes anyway. So I doubt seriously we're going to go much beyond that. Although I'm open to questions if you guys have any and you want to throw them in the chat. I'm still keeping an eye on the chat and always ready to answer any questions you might have. So we'll take a look at this little graphing thing, kind of that Prism does in the back end. Most of us, I think, at this point still have RIL and Prism. If you're running Prism 2.0, which I could bring up and show you, but it looks exactly the same except it doesn't have RIL. That is going to be the platform going forward. Once they get all the features in it, that's going to be where we're headed probably. It's very close. I mean, what they've done, the return modules and the promotions areas really shine. They look beautiful. Everything else is up to par, except it's just missing a few things, right? And I got to say, it's a lot of work getting these features in the software and getting them correct. So I definitely would rather have it done correct the first time, and I'd rather let them take the time they need to get it done. As much as I'd love to see it all done, actually yesterday. I'm not the guy writing the code, so let's respect the process, shall we say. Anyway, and if we go back in here, I can go to an X out, for instance, in here, right? And if I go to an X out in here, let's widen this thing up. Let's get the workstation out of here, uncheck all. Let's get the cashier. This is a filter, right? So we're definitely not going to want to filter to one cashier over the other. Don't need a drawer. Don't need an installation ID. Maybe need a store, maybe not. That one I could go either way on, right? I guess I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it, uncheck all. And I need a date range. So let's get a date range. And I don't know that I have any decent data in here to speak of. So it's a sandbox straight up. So I'm going to say, give me 12 months, start 11 months ago. And we're just going to take everything we can find, right? Now over here, I could say run. That's going to give me an X out, which we just saw an X out. So I don't know that we need to see another X out. But there's this thing here called flash sales, which will, like I said, it's kind of weird, but kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. I could look at, departments in a bar or an area or a line or a pie, right? I could switch and say, look at vendors. I don't have much data. Can you tell? I can look at attributes, sizes, stores, cashiers, clerks, hours in the day, right? Weekdays. So I don't know if that's really exciting for anybody. On the bottom here, you also have some you can switch it. We're on units right now, but I could be on price, right? I could be on price dollars or cost dollars or both, or margin dollars. I could do, cost and margin together, which actually wouldn't be that bad. Do price and cost, obviously gets a little, like price is clearly going to be double, but margin and cost probably aren't too far off each other. Number of receipts, I could say I want to see units and number of transactions per transaction. This is going to bring us down a lot. Take units out of there. Total sales. Like I said, you can play around with this and I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, certainly the cashier one, I'm going to say, if you do the cashier on number of receipts, for instance, right? That could be pretty cool to put up like by the time clock. It's going to say, you know what I mean? You can see, who's cranking out more transactions than other people. So, and or average dollars per sale. You can do that. See who's got the highest average dollars per transaction. Somebody who rings 2 transactions that have a high price point is going to win that one over the guy that rings 1,000 transactions in regular business, right? So, some of that stuff you got to be a little bit suspect of. You got to do your fair number of transactions, I guess. So, but that's the only thing I could think of that would be statistical based at all in in actually out land, right? I mean, you could do it though. We don't have any sales targets set up. There is such thing as sales targets, by the way. That is a pretty cool function. I see it here, but I noticed it's also not set up. This is a sandbox, so it's probably not going to get set up. But under employee management, you have a thing called sales targets, where we could go in and set up a range, a sales target, like a month or whatever. This is sort of off topic, right? The point is I could set it up for March of 22 and 22, right? I could go in and I could give it the company a range, right? If I did this, I would then have the ability to then take that there and add a target. I could break it out by store, and once I broke it out by store, I could break it out by deep department or by associate. No, most people don't break it down that deep. I'm going to say company and store is about deep as it goes, right? And if you did that whole process, the targets would then be available in the XE out. But more importantly, there are reports that you can use to compare your actual against the target that you put in. So, and that's how if you're going to use that feature, use it. It's a little bit like forecasting. It's kind of a cool function. Heavily underused, by the way. That's why I sort of mention it every opportunity I get, because I think it's super cool. But here it is: sales targets by employee, sales targets by company, subsidiary, sales targets by store, right? And by store and by employee. So if you do it by store, then you'd go in here and you'd be able to run this, and it would. I don't have any targets, so I don't think the date range matters, but the layout is enough to tell you what's going on, right? I mean, it's going to show you, no records found, right? The begin date, the end date of the target, the actual sales, and the percent to the target, right? And it does it in regular and price plus tax, which we could take price plus tax out of there if we wanted to. That, unless you're in Europe, that's probably not useful. Anyway, that's totally an extra that we really didn't need to go over, but it is a very cool feature. And apparently it does integrate with the XE out. So anyway, I think that about covers what we have to cover today and a little more. If you guys have any questions, anything else I can answer for you today? If not, I'm going to say thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. And you guys have a good one. Be safe out there. We're almost done with this thing, but it's still hanging around, right? So take care, stay safe, and we'll talk later. All right, bye-bye.